Good morning and welcome to the next episode, because I forgot which one it is, of our podcast, The Business of Life in Black and White. Mr. Terrence Stevens, real estate expert, and myself running King Loans, discussing a whole bunch of different topics, some of which have to do with work, a lot of which don't, and hopefully all of which are interesting to at least somebody.
Please.
Good morning, Mr. Stevens.
Good morning. Good morning, whatever day it might be. Good morning to everybody from the east to the west. Thank you for locking in with us and listen to us talk for, just a few minutes of your day.
Yep, we're gonna go a little casual off script today and have a conversation about business partnerships based on the fact that you had to kind of be my screaming post a few times last week when I was completely losing my mind for one of my clients in a situation that was really, really crappy that had nothing to do with him or I, and yet the stress level went through the roof. So because my wife doesn't want to hear that all the time, I get to yell at you sometimes, and you bear the brunt of that. So let's start with 30,000 foot view, right? You're the expert at your side of the business, I'm the expert at mine, and yet without each other, we can certainly get things done, and there's plenty of people that do, and yet with each other and the relationship that we have developed, it's different. You and I do things differently than I do with a lot of other folks. You and I accomplish things that we don't accomplish with a lot of other folks. So start there. What do you think it is? Why is it so important?
I've being younger, obviously, I've always heard don't mix don't mix business and pleasure, right? Or business and personal. I've heard it my entire life. The business gurus always say it, and I have been a complete I've been in complete disbelief with that phrase, because I think the best thing to do is mix business and personal, because sometimes business just gets too stringent and too tedious and weighs down on you. And sometimes you need to be able to release. You need to be able to yell, scream, curse, fuss, but then get back to the goal of the business, which is to solve the problem. And I think sometimes, just in the space we are, we have a lot of problems. We got problems every day, several different problems. But as people who really rely on being solutionists, when do you get time to just blow off the steam? And you and I often talk about our gym time as being that escape. But even when we're sitting by these computers and working these solutions out, we deserve the space to be able to just say, screw this. This is terrible. This client is annoying. This lender is just up my ass. And when do we get the space to be able to do that? So I believe these relationships that are formed in this business have to be about vulnerability, right? Have to be about a safe space. Because if we're not a safe space for one another, whatever that might be, then how can we provide safe space for our clientele, right? And welcoming them into what really is important to us, which is family. My clients are not just clients. They're not just business transactions. They will ultimately, because we've got to get in the nitty gritty of their life and they've got to trust us to do so, I would like to say that 90% of them become what I consider family. And so that has to start with somebody like you. I've been in a business relationship with now for 8 years, which is surreal to me. But every year we've gone through different things that have further cemented us. And most importantly, it's not all been pretty. There's been times where I've said, Tom, this doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. I don't like it. And you've come back and said, go to hell. Or, you know what, you're right, right? Let me address this because I care about the relationship. And we have to have the space to be able to do that with one another, because iron sharpens iron, and it's not always going to be sharp, right? It's sometimes going to feel dull. It's going to feel stale. But if you're not able to address somebody with respect, with intention, and then receive and be received, you're out of luck in this thing called business because it has its ebbs and flows.
Yeah. That's good. And just to give some context, you know, my specific example last week, the client was a good friend of mine. Had his own agent in the deal, so somebody that I had never met. He was buying a new construction house, so obviously the listing agent on the new construction side was of a different cloth as well. And you know, there was an issue with the end investor that we were using, and they didn't like a particular document that pertained to the property, had nothing to do with the client. And I had told them they were wrong, and I had cited multiple places where they were wrong and why, and kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and ended up, why I say all this is because I didn't know either of the realtors. I knew I was going to fix it. I think he pretty much knew I was going to fix it. My client did, right? Because he's a buddy of mine. I've known him for years now. You know, I talk a pretty good game when it comes to I'm going to fix it. It might not be pretty, but I'm going to fix it. Right. Anyway, these people didn't know I was going to fix it. So I'm getting 17 text messages and phone calls and this, and I'm worried. And what about this? And what about this? And I'm like, listen, guys, here's the issue. I've told you what it is 17 times. There's nothing you can do. You have to trust that I'm going to fix it. And ultimately we did, after losing sleep for 3 nights, right? We fixed it. But in the meantime, you know, you got the one agent who was nice, but the other gal kind of lost her mind and got unprofessional and fired off some emails. And, you know, it just turns into this disastrous situation where, like, the client's bearing enough stress because of what he's going through, because these other 2 people didn't know and trust me. You know, they were totally piling on the situation and adding to his stress, you know, making him freak out about something he couldn't control. So I think that's where I wanted to go with that, right? Is there's a level of trust in those business relationships that, as the client, if you can get yourself on a team with people that work together and trust each other, right? The value's not just the pennies and the dollars. It's not even just
the
the
experience. It's the experience, right? I think you hit it on the head. This thing is about team. This thing is not which individuals I can try to put together from a customer standpoint to get this thing done. If I don't trust that my inspector, if I got to go into a deal with 2 days due diligence, and I don't know that because of my experience, my inspector is going to be able to flip that inspection in 24 hours max, I'm already at a loss. If I don't know that my lender, when I pick up the phone and say, Tom, no financing contingency, and you go, no financing contingency, and I don't have trust in that, I'm dead from the beginning. I have formulated through these years a team that I can trust no matter what the circumstance. So when I get face to face with the client, there is no hesitation in what I say. There is no pause and consideration. I know what I'm doing, I know how I'm doing it, and I know what makes us win. If you try to deviate from that plan, it is more than likely we will not win and you will have a bad experience. So because of that, trust me with the entirety of the experience. And that's the way I sell my value. You have a problem. You have a house you want to buy. You have a house you want to sell. Let that be the problem. Now let me come up with the strategy and the solution to get it fixed and to get everybody to the closing table, no matter what comes in our way. Because this is real estate, ladies and gentlemen. There will be things that come our way. Okay. There's no pretty anything. I mean, I might have had like 5 pretty deals in my 200 plus deal career. But I think we both thrive off of, even before we started this today. Hey, you gonna get it fixed? Yeah, I'm gonna get it fixed. All right, cool. I thrive off of that, because if anybody tries to come to you and make this thing so black and white and pretty, run. It's never gonna be the case.
Even the good ones are hard, right? And I think that's what is difficult for the general public, especially folks that are super well off and have done this a bunch of times, right? And you know, you got your doctor, financial advisor, whatever. Even folks that are financially savvy and astute and sound, the mortgage and real estate world's a funky world, right? There's a lot of dumb crap that's got to go on and a lot of hoops that got to get jumped through. And what you and I do best, in my humble opinion, is shelter that stuff from the client, right? That's the goal, is how much of the heartache and the pain can I keep you from seeing and feeling.
And especially because, and I think taking it back to my personal life right now, I'm going through an interior renovation in my house, and there's so much I don't know. But for somebody like my contractor who has been through this countless times, I've had to remind him, be patient with me. Understand that this is my first time going through such a change, while your entire life, every day, is dealing with these intricacies, dealing with these problems. At one point, he mentioned black mold, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. And he's like, man, no way. Like, I'm ripping this up. And so I relate that back to us. We do this every day. And there's so much that the client doesn't know, doesn't need to know, or doesn't need to find out about, because their entire life is to go be on the side, making sure they keep that job that's going to pay for this mortgage, making sure they keep their family and their household intact. And so why would we, or why would any business professional pour on to somebody what they don't need? I'm only give you what you need. And then be in a space where if there's something that you misunderstand or miscalculate or that's misrepresented, I'm able to keep it short, concise, and sweet. And then even in that, I'm telling you, this is from my perspective. I want to give it to you. You do with what you want with it. But even in that, there's a level of trust and understanding that has to take place.
Yeah.
And it's important for us as the business professionals who do this every day to act like, one of the best quotes, act like you've been there before. There is nothing that is going to make me panic in a transaction right now, because guess what? By the grace of God, it is either going to happen or it's not. And there's only but so much I can do to ensure both of those things.
I talk about that with our kids all the time. It's the perspective of that. I live in a very calm world myself, and I've kind of trained myself to be there, right? And a lot of that, to your point, is through experience, because I've been doing this for 22 years. And the perspective is another piece, and I think I got a lot of that, through some of our mission stuff. It's, listen, yeah, this is a really big deal right now today, right? This is a really big deal. Again, what you and I discussed before, it's a really big deal right here as we sit. Next week, it might still be a big deal. It's certainly a deal. A month from now, I'll probably remember it. A year from now, you're going to remind me of that person's name, and I'll be like, I don't really remember who that was. Right? So the perspective to be able to say, is this still going to be a big deal 2 years from now, regardless of the outcome? Like, there's a freedom and a peace in that. And that doesn't mean you take a flippant approach to any situation, but it's, to your point, it's just there's a perspective to everything. These are huge financial transactions and people's livelihood that we're dealing with. And we bend and break our back to do everything we can to help them and to give people what they want. And the ability to remain calm and know, this is just a house. It's just, God forbid, the worst case scenario happens and you have to walk away and go somewhere else. Man, how lucky are you to have an opportunity to buy a house even, right? So
it's this is definitely this career, as I've done nothing else. I came straight from collegiate and professional football, avoided the corporate world, and stepped into real estate. I was built for this. The mindset of just being resolute, persevering, is one that ultimately leads people to success in this business. But
agreed.
it's shaped by the experience of having to do this time and time and time again. And ultimately, when you're able to say that, and I believe that all new real estate agents, all deserve a chance. Somebody gave me a chance. Somebody gave you a chance 20 years ago. There are chances given to prove yourself. We're no longer getting chances. I asked my team yesterday, what is our reputation? What do people know us for? And one of the first words I heard, or the first phrases I heard, was, to get it done, results. When your reputation is about results, the synonyms that go into that are trust, consideration. And when you've built that type of identity when you've built that type of identity around you, it becomes easy for people to say, I'm giving it to you just as I would give it to God. And I think, ironically enough, because of our spirituality, there's an honor that is bestowed upon us when people go, I'm giving it to you. Because I already know I'm giving it to God. And so, by way of you giving it to me, you already know the hands that it's in. There is no panic. There is no worry. There is no, either this thing is going to happen because God chose it to, and because we are walking in our purpose, or it's not for you. And that's going to become very evident, very clear,
Yeah.
very
That's,
quickly.
I think about when you say that, the difference in, I'll call it motivation because I'm on the spot, my motivation to go above and beyond for my client. And that is impacted by the client's trust in me every time and
Every time.
immediately. And I can think of two perfectly opposite recent examples. One is we just closed a deal on Friday. She's a repeat client, but she got divorced from her husband, tough situation. She could not be sweeter, more appreciative, more openly grateful every single time she talks to me, every time. And it wasn't perfect. She was a tough situation, and we had to do some things that were pushing the limits and finding ways around things. I mean, and I left everything I had on the field in the fourth quarter for her, 100%. And on the flip side, I got somebody negotiating with some stupid internet bank, and he tells me he doesn't even trust the guy, but then he still comes back to me. Then we finally earn a business, then he comes back to me again to renegotiate. Like, and then that's the kind of guy that, like, man, you know, when it's Saturday afternoon and I'm on the boat and I got my computer, you're probably not the call I'm going to take, man.
I don't have it for you. And that's the thing. If there's anything that I can say to anybody listening to us right now, okay, we in the mortgage and real estate world will go to war for you if you have faith and understanding in what we do. That does not mean you know everything, you want to know everything, you have all the answers, or even that we have all the answers. But the level of trust, patience will award you a lifetime of commitment from somebody like us. It's the moment where you step into worry and concern and hesitation that we will often mirror just that.
Yeah, that's good.
It's so simple.
Yep.
And so when you choose to do business with people in this business, make sure that you walk in with an open heart, that you're vulnerable in the way that you move with them. You tell the truth. We have your back. Tell the truth, and the truth will be told to you. I can make this happen. I will make this happen. Or I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
It is as clear cut as that. But the moment that you give us pushback, I've seen Tom do it. I've seen him do it.
Yep. It's automatic, right? The good people have an automatic response to receiving gratitude. And that's that we return the favor and go 100 miles an hour for you.
This is one of the reasons people often ask, no matter where I'm at, well, which areas do you work? I love that question, because I will immediately tell people I don't work any area. There are several real estate agents that will work specific neighborhoods, communities, farm. That subjects me to just a small group of people in that concentrated area. But what I do, I work with good people, because 9 times out of 10, good people know good people. And so as long as my business model is to work with good people, because good people are who I work with, right? From my contractors and my partners, then there's no doubt in my mind that when you have had the experience that we take pride in, that you will find a way to open your mouth and speak my name in rooms that I'm not in. And the only rooms that you're in are with other good people.
not prepared for this, but to hear you say that, the last time, because we're doing a podcast with black and white in the title, the last time I heard you say the phrase speak good in the room that you're in, you said, and this is totally unrelated, so whatever, it's my podcast. You had told me one time when you and I were having a very good conversation about racism, you had told, and I had asked you, this was in the height of all the Atlanta struggles. I had asked you, what do I do? What does Lily little white guy in Roswell coaching the Little League, do to move the needle on racism? And you said to me that you can't impact the people that are in the rooms that I am, only I can. And you passed me this proverbial baton of all your little white friends when they're saying crap that's not appropriate, and then I know that my black friends wouldn't appreciate that is my opportunity to move the needle on something.
That's allyship. That's true support. It is the definition of character. Who are you when nobody is watching?
Yeah.
And so I think there is often in this ideal of black and white or purple and red, like, who are you when that other opposing thing is not around? Are you still that same person? And so I think it's extremely important to really be able to check yourself in the moments where people around you are not living up to your creed, that you ask yourself, is this who I want to surround myself with? Is this how I want to be known? Because leave it up to just common saying, you are a representation of those that you hang with, that you are around. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so I remember vividly that time, because it was my challenge to you that, yes, this is a different space for you. And I know who you are when you're with me, but who do you represent when you are no longer with me and you don't have the pressure of standing up when I'm around, because you know it's not something that I would stand for. And I'll challenge anybody in that same way. So relating it back to business, what do you represent when your clients are not around? Are you a truth teller? Are you honest? Are you vulnerable? Are you protective? Or is that only when people are watching you?
Yeah. And full circle, right? Those two agents in that transaction for my buddy, because they didn't know me, right? They don't know that I am 100% sure that I'm going to fix this, because I'm 100% sure I'm right, because I was right and I've been doing this for too long, and that this guy's my buddy and I will go to hell and back to close that deal while he's in the middle of this horrible divorce and very complicated life situations, that I had already removed the shirt off my back and handed it to him, and I was not going home until it was done, right? But they didn't know me for that. So then it creates this giant other drama of a situation. So
and sometimes we don't have the control. Sometimes our clients will come to us with situations, and we have to take it to the chin and still remain who we are. So bravo to you for getting it done no matter what, right? In the ideal world, we work with people that I mean, I would do 100 deals with you if I can control the agent on the other side, the lender, the inspector, you name it, right? But we don't always have that option. And so who am I? And frankly, what is the standard I hold people to? If I'm in a situation where I have to work with an outside lender, an outside mortgage broker, which has been the case in sometimes, I'm like, hey, I know this is wrong. I know this is not the way that service is. I know this is not what Fannie and Freddie say. I'm experienced enough to know this isn't it. So you either fix it or I'm going to air it out, because I have the experience that tells me something differently.
yeah, you're good at that too, and that's a skill set that I've been working on, and my wife has been challenging me to work on it too. Is just more difficult conversations and being a little more wide open and willing to push back a little bit in a respectful.
That's it. This world is a crazy place enough. Okay, but if you can't as the young kids are saying these days, if you can't stand on business, and it is a perfect,
Never
I mean,
heard.
it's self-explanatory. Stand on who you are, what you represent, how you move, who you associate with. Stand on that, no matter what storm may come, right? No matter who might say something about it. Stand on who you are and how you move. And the rest will work itself out.
I love it, man. Good convo. Let's close this way with one of my fun off the cuff questions here. All right, so all right, let's relate it back to the same topic. So last week, super stressful for me again, just kind of falling apart a little bit. When you're maxed, when it's breaking point and you need a minute and you need to figure some stuff out and try to pull yourself back together,
Yes.
where's your happy place? What's your happy activity? What does everybody know that, all right, just go do that, and when you come back, he'll be better.
Gosh. It's either fishing, which I don't do enough of. It's something with water, or my bike. I will just ride until I can't feel my legs anymore. And I think something about the wind just hitting you, and you have your headphones in and you can just disappear to another space.
Yep.
Um, that is like my peace. So I think I take myself to a space, and or dancing, just something that gets me up, gets me going, lets me release.
Yeah.
Because yeah, this life thing, this business thing is not easy. So you do need those releases.
Mhm.
So fishing, biking, or dancing.
I like it. I'm not much of a dancer, but for me, it's obvious, and Amanda says it, and she can see it coming, and she'll just turn to me and she'll say, "Go get on the boat." Walk out
It's
that door, and I will go get on that boat by myself, and I will go nowhere. I will go out and just drive around for a little bit, and like you said, the wind and the music and just the ability to kind of
tune
tunnel
out.
out to
Yep.
that and just be surrounded by all the beautiful things that God's created in nature. And
Oh, that reminds me how much I need to get down there. Okay, next week. Yes, I need to be on that boat before it gets too hot.
let's go.
Let's do it.
Appreciate y'all listening. Terrence Stevens, real estate extraordinaire. I do a pretty good job at what I do. We love
Oh,
each other. We're buddies.
I'm king, 22 years in the business, still pushing.
Fun stuff, my friend. I
To the
appreciate you.
next one.
Catch you next time.
To the next one.